The gym fell silent the moment the sergeant hit the tatami, staring up at the ceiling like it had betrayed him. It was 0730 hours at Fort Bracken, a humid morning where the air felt thick enough to drink, and the AC in the training hall was losing its slow battle against the heat. Before we begin this mission, hit subscribe and ring the bell, because some stories of courage never made the headlines, but they deserve to be heard. Tell us where you're watching from and who's the hero in your family. The 10 meters by 10 meters tatami mats were already damp from earlier drills, a haze of breath and sweat hovering above them. Soldiers lined the walls, arms crossed, boots tapping, waiting to see whether the newcomer would fold or surprise them. No one expected the latter, especially not from someone introduced as a civilian liaison. Maya Rios stood near the edge of the mat, tying the strap of a borrowed GI jacket. She moved without hurry, her breath slow, her posture too balanced to ignore. LT Jenna Ward noticed it first. She'd been trained to spot the difference between someone used to desks and someone used to danger. Maya's shoulders were set with the kind of discipline that never washes off. Still, the liaison cover story was all they'd been given. So Ward stepped aside and let the morning unfold. SGT Harris, Cole, callsign Brick, had been stretching with the loud confidence of a man used to owning the room. Barrel-chested, scarred eyes, sharp with years of grit. He was the kind of NCO recruits tried not to cross. He walked onto the mat with a smirk and cracked his neck, then his knuckles, then the Velcro on his wrist guards, each sound announcing he was ready to teach someone a lesson. The other soldiers muttered among themselves, half joking, half anticipating the entertainment. Cole sized up Maya with a grin. "No hard feelings," he said, stepping closer. "Just part of PT, of course," Maya replied. Her voice was calm, depthless, giving nothing away. Ward watched her with growing curiosity. The stance, the breathing, the quiet readiness. Everything about Maya contradicted her file. But before Ward could think further, Cole signaled he was ready, planting his feet at the center of the mat. "All right, liaison," he said. "Let's see what you got." The room leaned forward as they circled. Cole moved first, fast for his size. He reached for her wrist, aiming to pull her off balance. That was all she needed. Maya's right hand rotated around his grip, her left foot pivoting as if she were turning with the breeze instead of a charging sergeant. She locked his wrist, rotated it sharply in a textbook kote geishi, and swept her leg behind his with precision so clean it stole the sound from the room. Cole hit the mat in less than 4 seconds. A dull, heavy thud filled the gym. Then nothing. The squad stared. Some blinked like they'd missed a frame. One of the younger soldiers whispered Brick, as if checking whether gravity still applied. Cole lay flat, breathing hard, eyes wide with disbelief. It wasn't pain that shocked him, it was the sheer efficiency. Maya stood poised above him, breathing calmly, not a hair out of place. She stepped back, giving him space. "Are you all right, Sergeant?" Her tone wasn't mocking. It was professional. That somehow wounded him more. Cole sat up slowly. "What? What was that?" "A basic wrist rotation," she said lightly. "You overextended." The soldiers exchanged glances. No liaison talked like that. Ward knew the truth was rising, unbidden, into the open. Cole climbed to his feet, rubbing his wrist, studying her like a puzzle he'd been handed without instructions. Again, he said, determination, pride, and a flicker of respect warred in his voice. But Maya shook her head. No need. A ripple passed through the onlookers. This wasn't arrogance. It was certainty. She already knew the outcome of a second match. Cole did too, judging by the way he clenched and unclenched his hands. He looked at her differently, now not as a civilian, not as a subordinate, but as someone who had just rewritten his understanding of the morning. Ward approached, stepping onto the mat. "Rios," she said quietly, "your file doesn't say anything about martial disciplines." "I had some previous training," Maya replied. "What kind?" Maya offered a small, polite smile that said nothing and everything at once. Enough. That word hung in the room like a suspended blade. Cole exhaled, a half-laugh born of disbelief. "Yeah," he muttered, "that's one way to put it." The gym's humid air pressed in as soldiers whispered, wondering about the newcomer who'd just sent Brick 40 pounds heavier and fueled by pure competitive nestling. Someone repeated his call sign under their breath again, as though confirming the moment had happened. Brick dropped. By her. Cole stepped closer, his tone shifting. "Where'd you learn that?" Maya's eyes flicked toward Ward, then back to him. Different places, different times. It wasn't evasive. It was simply final. The morning continued, though the mood had shifted entirely. Soldiers drilled with half their minds elsewhere, replaying the move, the speed, the quiet certainty in Maya's posture, the way she mapped the exits without turning her head, the instinctual precision in her steps, the subtle tension in her shoulders, like someone waiting for a signal only she could hear. When PT ended, the squad dispersed, but the questions lingered. Cole lingered too, walking alongside her toward the lockers. "You know," he said, rubbing his wrist with a rueful grin, "you hit harder than anyone I've trained with." "I didn't hit you," she replied gently. "I redirected you." Cole huffed a laugh. "Yeah, that's what worries me." He studied her for another long second, the earlier sting of embarrassment settling into genuine curiosity. It wasn't just the fall. It was the precision, the presence, the way she'd seen him coming before he moved. "You're not a liaison," he said quietly. Maya paused at the doorway, meeting his gaze. "I'm here to observe," she said. "That's all you need to know." But Cole wasn't convinced. Ward wasn't either. Word would spread fast, and so would speculation. For now, Maya remained an enigma, but the balance had shifted. Their assumptions had cracked open. Something was coming, and she knew it. The morning silence, the too humid air, the way her eyes tracked the far edge of the gymmet, wasn't nerves. It was anticipation. As Maya walked out, Ward watched her go, unsettled by a suspicion she couldn't yet name, and far beyond the gym, on the edge of the base, something had already begun to move, something that would force all of them to learn who Maya Rios really was. A whisper on the encrypted channels that night would shatter the illusion completely. The moment the encrypted radio hissed with voices that shouldn't have been there, Maya's cover cracked like thin ice. Fort Bracken's operations room was dim except for the glow of monitors and the slow sweep of status lights on the comms rack. It was 2,215 hours, the kind of cold night where every breath misted and the 12 mph crosswind rattled the loose siding outside. Maya stood near the central table, hands behind her back, silent but alert, as if listening to something beyond the room. Ever since the takedown that morning, she'd been trying to reconcile who Maya appeared to be with who she clearly was. Mismatched clearance codes, inconsistent dates, odd omissions, everything she'd found in the liaisons file made less sense the deeper she dug. She had confronted Maya quietly an hour earlier, and all she got in return was a cool, measured explanation about auditing training readiness. Nothing more, nothing less. It wasn't enough. Before Ward could ask again, The come screen flickered, and CWO Daniel Park sat upright. "We've got encrypted pings inside the outer buffer," he said, his voice sharpening. "Not ours." Last burst came from grid 41. Maya moved before anyone else did, stepping closer, studying the waveform. The frequency patterns were crisp, deliberate, and wrong. Park attempted another trace. A second burst cut across the channel short, efficient, unmistakably foreign to Fort Bracken's internal system. Break vector, confirm grid 42. 1 Delta Parks, knuckles whitened. Unauthorized chatter. Someone's inside the perimeter, or bouncing off it. Cole entered then, breathing hard from a late run, still tugging at his gloves. He stopped when he saw the tension in the room. "What's going on?" Maya didn't take her eyes off the screen. SIGINT? Anomaly. Not local. Could be a probe. Ward felt a wave of unease roll through her. A probe for what? Maya exhaled once, slow and heavy. Access. The word settled over them like a shadow. Park's display pinged again. Contact 2 to 3 mics out. The message bled through the channel as if someone was whispering past their defenses. The motion sensors along the north side flickered green to yellow and back again. "That's impossible," Ward said. "Those sensors don't glitch." "They do," Park replied, "but not all at the same time. This is deliberate." Cole's eyes flicked toward Maya. "You know something?" For a moment, the room felt suspended. Maya's shoulders rose in a breath that looked like resignation more than exhaustion. She turned toward Ward and Cole, her posture straightening as if shedding a layer she had tried to keep on. "My call sign," she said quietly, "is Spectre." The name landed with the coldness of steel. Ward stared at her. "Why is someone like you auditing a place like this?" "Because this base is part of a covert readiness assessment," Maya answered. "We've had indications of insider-level lick-small, precise breaches in protocol. I was sent to observe, verify, and measure the response time under pressure." Cole's jaw tightened. "So we're the test." "No," she corrected. "You're the target." The motion sensors along the outer buffer flickered again yellow, then red. Park's voice dropped. "They're slipping past the grid." Everyone froze except Maya. She was already moving toward the gear rack, NVG's carbines with suppressors, red lens flashlights only. Her tone was crisp, practiced, and carried the weight of someone used to being obeyed. Ward hesitated. "Maya, if this is an assessment, then this part isn't," Maya said. "These are real infiltrators, and they know this place too well." Cole stepped to her side without thinking, grabbing a carbine, checking the chamber, adjusting his grip. He didn't question her now. Whatever bruised pride he'd carried from the Tatami had turned into something steadier respect, maybe even trust. Outside, the temperature had dropped to 42 degrees. Fog clung low, twisting through the gravel paths and obscuring the outer floodlights. Their breath turned to smoke as they crossed the yard, NVGs glowing faint green against the darkness. Maya led them toward Grid Fort 1 Delta, scanning the fence line. The wind tugged at their jackets. Every footstep on gravel sounded too loud. Every distant generator hum felt like a warning. The base seemed to hold its breath as they advanced. Cole swept their left flank. Ward covered rear. Park tracked the perimeter sensors from the portable tablet strapped to his chest rig. Red lens flashlights cut thin beams through the air, catching frost crystals as they drifted. Maya raised a fist, and the team halted. She crouched, pressing a gloved hand to the dirt. Fresh boot impressions, 2 sets, light tread, precise spacing, professional. "They were just here," she murmured. Heading east, Park whispered, "How'd they get through?" The motion grid they knew, "The blind spots," Maya said, "which means someone fed them the map." Ward's breath hitched insider-level intel. Maya nodded, "And they're moving deeper." The realization crashed over Ward like cold water. Everything Maya had hinted at, the inconsistencies, the secrecy, the strange audit, now made brutal sense. Fort Bracken wasn't being inspected, it was being hunted. A rustle in the dark made Cole bring his weapon up. Maya's hand flicked to signal hold fire. She moved forward, deliberate, controlled, scanning the shadows for movement. Her voice stayed low, tight with focus. "Eyes up. They're not extraction ready yet. They're staging." Park's radio crackled one last time. The infiltrators sending something unintelligible across the encrypted channel. Then nothing. Silence stretched. The team waited, hearts beating hard under cold gear. Maya straightened. "We're dealing with infiltration trained in bypassing systems. Maybe 2, maybe 3. They're deeper than our sensors can track." Cole swallowed. "What now, Spectre?" Maya looked toward the far side of the base, where low buildings and maintenance sheds cast long shadows. Something cold flickered in her expression, a calculation, a burden she had been carrying alone. Now she said, "We hunt," and as they moved into the darkness, Maya felt the weight of the mission shift. The leak she'd come to assess was no longer hypothetical, and the night was only just beginning. Long before the unit realized what was happening, Maya was already moving silent, precise, unmistakably Delta. The alert caught her mid-stride in the command hallway, a clipped transmission from the North Maintenance Gate that hardened her expression before anyone else understood why it mattered. Cold air seeped through the cracks of the old building, carrying the metallic temps of wet concrete and machine oil. She adjusted the strap of her suppressed carbine, eyes narrowing as she studied the map projected on the wall monitor. 2 unidentified signals moving with purpose. Extraction attempt. Wrong side of the base, wrong time. Too coordinated to be luck. Cole arrived first, breath sharp, jaw set. The bruise on his cheekbone from the tatami match had faded into something he wore like a reminder. "You called it," he said quietly, stepping beside her. "Someone's been feeding them." Maya nodded once. She didn't look at him, but he felt the shift command settling into her spine, calm and unyielding. She wasn't the liaison anymore. She wasn't even hiding it. "We cut them off at Corridor 5, she said. 12-yard choke point, low light. They'll bottleneck." LT Ward entered behind them, tension in his shoulders, questions in his eyes. She answered none of them. "Ward, take 3rd Fire Team and block their north exit. Cole stays with me." Ward hesitated, then accepted the order like he'd accepted the truth he could no longer ignore. "Understood. Anything else?" "Radio discipline tight," she said. "If you need me, call Spectre." Cole blinked at the call sign but didn't comment. Ward looked like he wanted to, but thought better of it. And when Maya stepped into the night air, crossing into the dim service yard, the truth settled around them. All the woman they'd underestimated had been assessing them from the moment she arrived. The wind cut across the yard at 12 miles per hour, carrying dust and the faint tremble of distant generators. Low visibility, breath fogging against the cold. They moved quickly, beams from Redland's flashlights slicing through the darkness without giving away their position. The maintenance wing rose like a shadowed spine ahead, its narrow corridors ideal for a fight no one wanted but everyone sensed was inevitable. Halfway through the approach, the radio cracked with static. Unidentified contact moving east 2 to 3 mics out. Then another burst. Break, vector, confirm grid for 2, 1 Delta. Maya stilled, listening to the rhythm of the calls, counting footsteps in her head, marking the angles. She signaled Cole to follow. Her movements were clean, sharp, controlled, an echo of the takedown on the tatami, but now fully unleashed, purpose replacing restraint. Inside the corridor, the world compressed. Metal walls, flickering leads, echoing pipes, every sound carried too far. Their boots whispered along the grated floor as they took position behind a junction of stacked tool crates. The infiltrators slipped in through the far end of the corridor to silhouettes in dark tactical gear. Rifles up, moving with the confidence of men who believed their stolen access was enough. One clutched a data slate, still glowing with a maintenance gate override. The other swept the hall with mechanical precision, unaware of the trap waiting in the dark. Maya touched Cole's shoulder, steadying him. "Wait for my signal." He nodded, focus sharpening. One infiltrator raised his radio. Clear path, 2 minutes to exfil. Maya moved. She crossed the distance in a blur, catching the first man's elbow, driving him into the wall. His rifle clattered as she locked a carotid hold. He sagged before sound escaped him. The second snapped his rifle up. But Cole stepped forward, steady, controlled, 2 shots, center mass. The man crumpled, weapons skidding away. Silence. Cole lowered his rifle. Target down. Maya zip-tied the unconscious infiltrator. Good shooting. Behind them, Ward's team arrived, slowing at the sight. To neutralized threats, a blinking data slate truth exposed. Maya lifted it, scanning. Contractor, maintenance division. He fed them the codes. Ward exhaled hard. "So what now?" Maya keyed her radio. Spectre package contained, requesting secure transport. For now, her voice softened just slightly. "Your unit held together when it mattered. Remember that?" He nodded. Gratitude mixed with the weight of everything he'd misjudged. "You leaving at sunrise," she looked toward the lightening sky. "Delta comes and goes. Files close, names fade." She paused. "But you did well, Cole." He stood a little taller at that. She stepped past him, boots catching the early sun, the corridor stretching behind her like a chapter closing. And somewhere beyond the gate, new shadows waited for someone like her to walk toward them.